It is January of 2025, and if you haven't heard yet, you're supposed to be happy. You're supposed to be excited about the new year. You're supposed to have goals and resolutions and be looking forward to another great, fantastic, and wonderful year. Well, maybe if you've got like a melancholic personality, or if you suffer from codependency, or if you are from a dysfunctional family, because I think those two go together in many ways, you may not be feeling it. You may be feeling sad. You may be feeling blue. You may be feeling discouraged. You may be feeling negative feelings, and you almost feel guilty about having negative feelings, right? It's like you're Catholic. It's all these shoulds. You should be happy. You should be joyful. You should be just filled with fire and the Holy Ghost and all that good stuff. Well, I don't know about you, but I've had times, many times, way too many times, where I've just felt like garbage, sad, depressed, discouraged, and sometimes on the brink of despair. And as a Catholic, to fall into despair and to wallow in it is a sin. So we don't want to do that. At the same time, it's a feeling, right? It's a feeling of a dark cloud over you, a darkness that you just can't seem to shake sometimes. And again, I'm not a psychologist or a therapist of any kind, but I've struggled this for a long time. Maybe you do too. Maybe you just can't really put your finger on it. Saint Francis Sales says, "A saint sad is a sad saint," and we don't want to be sad saints. We want to be joyful. We want to be happy. We want to be smiling for other people, and people to look at us and see that joy of Christ in us. And it's hard to explain those days when you just can't. So I've thought about this for a little bit and, do my usual reading and research as us melancholics do. And the one thing that came up that I thought was curious, that really kind of irritated me, is that when you're feeling sad, it's almost a sure indication that the devil is around you, because the devil is eternally sad. He's condemned to hell for all eternity. He's sad. He's the mother of all melancholics. And I mean melancholic in the bad way. I mean, we melancholics are awesome. We're deep thinkers, we're spiritual, all that good stuff. But he exhibits the worst qualities of melancholy, right? That absolute deep sadness. So when it comes to even like discerning the spirits, if you're feeling sad, if you just feel this cloud over you, and again, I'm using the word feeling because it's a feeling of sadness, then you can be pretty sure that the devil's hanging out with you. Man, that dude is like in your ear. He's all around you, and because he doesn't want you to be happy. He doesn't want you to be joyful. In fact, he's kind of ticked off that when you are happy, because he can't be. Okay, so just know that. And I'll probably repeat this a few times, but that's when you tell the devil to go to hell. Okay, so for starters, I don't know. It's starting with prayer for me in so many ways. The first thing that I do when that happens is just, run to Mary. Pray Hail Marys. Pray to St. Joseph. St. Joseph is known as the terror of demons. So just, maybe say a prayer to him just to get started, just to get, just to fight back. It's so maddening when when you think the devil's getting the better of you, because we certainly don't want that. And I was doing some more reading, and it said the only creatures, souls who should be sad are the devil and the damned. Right? The damned are in hell for all eternity. Of course they're sad. They have no hope. They have, no hope of getting out there. They're condemned for all eternity. And of course the devil is too, right? Because God cast down, Satan and all the devils down into hell. So they should be sad. But here we are, you and me, we are here right now. We still have so many opportunities for heaven. We have nothing but, hope, and that we are on our way to heaven. So part of this, and maybe for us, and this is a blessing in many ways, is that when we do get this sadness, this discouragement, God is almost like, okay, I'm putting you in the fight. You can fight this. Here's the tools to do it, and I'm going to help you do it. So if it's in a weird way, think about it and say, hey, this is great. I'm in the fight. Dude, I'm part of Church Militant, and we're going to fight this stuff off. So I highly encourage you to get into that fighting spirit, and don't let this just take you and crush you, okay? Because our faith, Jesus, the saints are so much stronger and more powerful than this sadness and this depression. But the book that I draw a lot of encouragement from is a book by Well, it's called The Consoling Thoughts of St. Francis de Sales, and I highly recommend you take a look at it because it's written almost specifically for people who are in a time of discouragement. It could be a lifetime of discouragement. Could be that that's just part of your temperament. It's just always like discouraged, a lack of faith. And again, psychologically and spiritually, there's so much more to this. But just even on the surface level, if you get discouraged a lot, I highly recommend this book. Again, it's called Consoling Thoughts of St. Francis de Sales. I'll put it in the notes. And in the book, he talks about 8 remedies for sadness. And this is a bad sadness. Of course, there's a good sadness where you're sad for your sins, where you're, you've messed up somewhere and you have this sadness, say, Lord, I've sinned against you. And we have confession and you can take care of that. But the bad sadness is just, I don't have to explain it to you. You know it when it hits you. It's again, I've said it's that dark cloud. So here are some of the notes I have here. And it just says that even if you're sad, keep doing good. Keep doing the things that you're supposed to be doing. Don't give up. Don't stop. I think the worst thing you can do is when you're sad and depressed is just stop. Just you sit there and you wallow in it. So for goodness sakes, just keep at it. Don't stop doing what you're doing. Here's a second one that I have a hard time with sometimes, but he says to sing a hymn. So maybe go into some of your church songbooks and just start belting out a tune, maybe in the shower. Outside if you don't want to be around other people, but just try it out, see if it works. But sing a song, man. My third point here, again, these are just a few out of the 8, is do something you enjoy doing. I know a lot of times if you're from this dysfunctional family system, you have a hard time doing things for yourself, things that make you happy, things that you enjoy doing. So, for instance, go for a walk, go outside. Get off your keister and go outside and get some air. Okay, maybe you like to play a musical instrument and you just don't because you feel like it's selfish. Like, oh, I shouldn't be doing stuff I like. Pick up an instrument. Pick up a harmonica. Pick up a kazoo, for goodness sakes, and go make some music. I find a lot of times you'll hear a lot of people talk about this is do exercise, move your body. So take some kind of activity, something you enjoy doing. Something, and maybe when you're in a really good mood, make a list of things that you like to do so that when you do get kind of down, you can look at the list and say, okay, let me try this or let me try that, and force yourself to do it. I got to tell you, the worst times are when something puts you in a good mood, but when you're in that dark place, it doesn't matter. You're like, you forget all that stuff somehow. It's like, well, this can't work. This can't possibly work. Just do it. So highly encourage that. Make a list of things you like to do when you're in a good mood. And then when you're in a bad mood, when you are sad and you're discouraged, pull that list out and just try something and just do it. And on faith, do it. It may not snap you out of your mood, but, keep doing it. Keep trying it. See what happens. One thing he talks about, too, is if you have a crucifix in your house is to, maybe hold it to your chest, maybe kiss the feet or the hands of our crucified Lord and think about his passion. Think about what he went through and think about what he did for you. And, sometimes just contemplating the passion of our Lord will help too. It'll take you out of your sadness and put your eyes on him and what he did for you and for me, for all of us. That's another possibility. A big one, and this is a hard one, is to talk to someone that you can trust. Talk to someone that's you can tell these things to. Say, hey man, I'm really struggling today. And I got to be quite honest, for me, those people are few and far between. Even with my wife, I have a hard time still to this day saying, hey, I feel this way or that way. If you got to see a therapist, if you got to go talk to someone to get that stuff out, if it's safe, great. A priest, someone you trust at church, a trusted friend. For me, many times though, it's finding a quiet place and talking to God and say, hey, you know what? I feel really sad today. I don't know what it is. I don't get it. I don't understand it. And see if that helps. Have that personal relationship with God as Father. And I know a lot of us struggle with that. It's like, that trust issue. Like, can I really trust going to God and talking to him? Just try it. Just bring it out. Like, again, like he's your best friend because he is. And just say, hey, Lord, I'm feeling this way. I don't know what to do about it. I'm giving it to you. I don't know what to do about it. It feels like my life is in a million pieces right now, and I can't put it together. It's an act of humility in a way, in that you can't fix it. It just you can't. God can. So try giving it to Him. I would say what's really hard for a lot of us is that be gentle with yourself. If you're feeling sad, if you're feeling discouraged, if you're in that really dark place, it's not a time to be yelling at yourself. It's not a time in your internal dialogue saying, you shouldn't feel this way. This is, don't be stupid, that kind of stuff, because you do feel that way. And it is so crucial that you just look at yourself as a really good friend, or as you would talk to a really good friend and say, you know what? I know you're feeling really down. So what's going on? Okay, I can understand that. I see where you're coming from. I see the struggle. So, that's it in spades. For goodness sakes, be gentle with yourself. And again, I know that struggle. You've probably spent a lifetime, saying nasty things to yourself. Your self-dialogue is horrible. You're putting yourself down. And it's part of the dialogue you learned as even a child, right? The voices are just like, oh, you're a bad person, and you shouldn't be feeling this way, and who do you think you are? And we don't talk about emotions. And that's a big thing when, again, you're from that dysfunctional family, when you're in codependency, when you've been, almost labeled as a lost child for your family, is you're not allowed to express emotions. You're not allowed to express feelings. You can't tell people when you're sad. Or if you're happy, it's like, oh, what are you laughing about? Or don't cry, I'll give you something to cry about. So it's all shoved inside. So acknowledge those emotions, acknowledge those feelings, and just say, I feel like garbage. There's something, if you do a quick web search, it's called a feelings wheel. And not to get all woo or anything, but it's been a big help. And it's a big help because you may not even know how to identify what you're feeling. And there's something on this, one of the emotions on this wheel is, it says just when you're sad. And then a subcategory of that is you feel lonely, you feel vulnerable, you feel despair, you feel guilty, you feel depressed, you feel hurt, okay? So you're breaking it down. It's just saying you're sad is one thing, but there's probably something even under that. Now, what's interesting is that breaks down even further. So under lonely, it says you feel isolated or abandoned. And a lot of times I'm sure you feel that way. You feel isolated, you feel abandoned, you feel like you have no friends in the world, that everyone's just deserted you. You feel isolated, you're alone, you can't reach out to anybody. So label that feeling. Just say, hey, this is how I really feel. And this gets back to the conversation. It's like, Lord, I feel like I'm abandoned. I feel like I have no friends. I feel like, my family hates me. I mean, on and on it goes. And this makes you vulnerable in a good way to God, and just say, hey, this is how I'm feeling. This is what's going on. I really need some help. So here it is again, January 2025, and you're not alone with this struggle. I think that's the biggest thing, and that's why it's even hard for me to talk about this myself, because so many days you feel alone. You just feel like, well, no one else can be feeling like this. I'm the only one this way. Look at all these happy people, and you go to work and everyone's happy, and your family's always happy and stuff like that. You just feel like a real outcast sometimes. So first of all, no, you're not the only one who goes through this. Know that, I guess in a way you're special, right? Because if the devil's coming after you, he sees the promise in you. He sees your talents, your skills, and abilities that God gave you, and he's scared to death you're going to use them. He wants you to not be the person you are, to not be the person that God created you to be. So, of course, he makes you sad, because when you're sad, you don't do the stuff you're supposed to be doing. You don't plow ahead and, get stuff done and reach goals and all that other stuff. So, in a weird way, it's almost kind of like Satan's got you picked out, because maybe he sees that you're pretty dangerous, that if you aren't sad, if you aren't discouraged, if you don't, come to a screeching halt on these dreams and goals and desires that God has given you, you're going to be bad news for him. You're going to save souls. You're going to save your soul. You're going to save other souls. So think about it that way. Turn this, put a little positive twist on that. And as I said earlier, please, for goodness sakes, be gentle with yourself. St. Francis de Sales is known as the gentle saint, so I highly encourage you to pick up that book or any of his writings, and you'll see quickly how gently he is with the people that he gave spiritual direction to, that he wrote letters to. So take some time, be good to yourself. But the one thing you don't want to do is just sit there and do nothing. Because once you wallow in that pain, that suffering, that sadness, the discouragement, you belong to the devil. He's doing like the happy dance. So if nothing else, get ticked off and say, you know what, I'm not going to do this to make the devil happy. Not that he could ever be happy, right? But I'm not going to give him the victory. I'm not going to give him the pleasure. I am not going to let him defeat me. And know that in your loneliest, darkest time of this discouragement or sadness, God doesn't leave you. God is there. So learn to talk to him. Learn to bring this to him. If nothing else, say, Lord, I'm broken. Can't fix this. I'm helpless, and I need your help. So I hope that helps. I hope that you find ways or practice some of these things I talked about, look into some of these resources. And, the sadness is temporary. It's as temporary as you make it, because you can fight through it. And even if it lasts longer, just look to God and say, thank you. I don't know what good is coming from this, but I know that there is something good coming from this. So it's all for a reason. So hope that helps. And hey, good luck. You're not the only one. There's others of us out there just, struggling with the same thing. But as they say, no struggle, no victory. So, let's move on to victory. All right. God bless you. Thanks.